remember it was Azubuike took the three and left it short. And those games were so intense, weren't they, back in those days?
Oh my God, I think that final score of that game was 53-52.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was a rock fight compared to games nowadays. But yeah, those games were wars. And yeah, I was guarding Sparks, I think his name was Patric Sparks.
Patric
And
Sparks.
as Azubuike missed short, hit front rim, backboard, and I got it. And yeah, I think I blacked out when I threw the ball in the crowd there. So.
Another Duly Noted podcast comes to you from the Meldon Law Studios at the Hacienda.
Okay, and welcome in to another Duly Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging, coming to you from the Meldon Law Gator Studios here at the Hacienda. We appreciate all of you for listening and checking in. We got a great show today, two great Gator greats. In fact, Florida's won 5 SEC tournaments in its history, and we'll have two of the different guys on that did it. Matt Walsh, of course, everybody knows him. First guy to ever be on a team that won a SEC tournament championship, and Patric Young. So, of course, we all know him from the SEC network, and Patric, part of a team that went 21-0 in the SEC. So looking forward to talking to both of them about their experiences playing with the Gators and all that. Both of them, of course, were Billy players, and all that is coming up. And, of course, Coach Spurrier will join us on Monday. Still not sure about next Thursday. I have a call in, but I haven't heard back on it. But we'll have somebody, and it'll be a lot of fun. We always try to have fun here on another Duly Noted podcast. All right, let us start with our MoneyMetals.com starting five.
MoneyMetals.com is your home for gold and silver purchases, one of the largest distributors in all the United States. 2 Gator grads are running it, and you can reach them at 1-800-800-1865 or at MoneyMetals.com.
Okay, so we always start with basketball this time of year. Like we always start with football during football season, basketball during basketball season. It is basketball season, but since Florida didn't play this week, I said, hey, we need to start with baseball today, and that's what we're going to start with because nothing made me happier than, well, I don't want to say, and if in the same 3-day period, so Saturday, Sunday, Monday, same 4-day period, you knock off Kentucky on the road, by the way, in basketball and FSU in baseball, it's been a pretty good few days for those of us who really are big into negative rooting and big into positive rooting. Anyway, the point is Florida gets the win Tuesday night against the hated Seminoles. 18 strikeouts for the Gators. I mean, they struck out 18, not that they struck out 8 times. And I've seen Florida. I saw them the day they won the SEC. I want to go back to 2005 because that was, we were talking about Matt Walsh. That was the year that they won the basketball. They won the SEC also in regular season baseball. And in the game where they clinched it at Vanderbilt, they struck out 18 times. So sometimes you strike out a lot, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you feel like a nut. But the bottom line is certainly a big win for the Gators, and we'll talk a little bit more about them a little later on the starting five when we get to softball and baseball and what they've got ahead of them this week. But, you know, they pitched it so well. I mean, look, you strike out 18 guys, you pitched well. There's no question about it. Fell behind, but came back, and Brandon Lawson again, just guy is killing it. So there's reason to be excited. And, of course, Florida now, home series against South Carolina. That'll be fun. It's not the same South Carolina. In fact, I'm pretty sure I'm right about this. I think it was South Carolina that lost to Queens. It may have been Tennessee, but I think it was South Carolina that lost to Queens. Anyway, yeah, South Carolina lost to Queens, and Queens all of a sudden has become this dominant. Now, most people don't assume Queens is in New York. No, it's in Charlotte. It's a Queen City, right? Anyway, they are off to they just qualified for the NCAA basketball tournament, and we'll get to that in a little bit. And now they've already got a win over South Carolina in baseball. So anyway, South Carolina not quite the same as they used to be during the Ray Tanner eras, but Still should be a great series. See if Florida can pitch. I mean, Peterson's been good the last 2 times. Aiden King had a bad outing. He needs to bounce back. We'll see how it goes here in this weekend series, but it should be a lot of fun. Florida baseball. We'll give you those times and where you can watch them on TV if you're not going to the game, but should be nice, cool weather this weekend too. It's like I couldn't believe it was 93 yesterday. Just out of nowhere, it was 93, and then it's supposed to be back down in the lower temperatures. I think one more time before we get into full-blown spring-ish, summer-ish. You know how it is here in Gainesville. All right, that's number one. Our moneymetals.com starting 5. Let's get to number 2, and that is
moneymetals.com is your
NCAA
home
tournament.
for gold and silver.
And obviously, the SEC tournament is this week. You can't be thinking about the NCAAs. It's okay for me to do that, okay? Because I'm not affecting any play or anything. It's okay for you to do it. It's okay. There's a lady out here walking her 2 dogs. It's okay for her to do it. It's fine. We can do that. I've done it. I've looked at the teams that are in the 8-9 lines, and then, boy, I don't know. They'd have to. I don't think they're going to let Florida play. Who was it? Miami in their second round game. I think they'd switch that off. We'll see. Until the bracket comes out, it really doesn't matter. Because we've talked about this before. Leonardo's very good at what he does. Jerry Palm is very good at what he does. The Field of 68, they're very good at what they do. The Ken Palm everybody's really good at it, but at the end of the day, none of them are good at knowing who's playing where. They're good at knowing which teams are getting in. That's the only thing you should use it as I remember one year, Florida was in. I'm in Nashville. They get beat. That's okay. I think they got beat in the second game they played. They're still in. I'm sitting there eating dinner, and all of a sudden I see the crawl, and it says, first 4 out, Florida. And I'm like, oh, my God. I'm not going to be able to go to the tournament. I love the tournament. Well, it turned out they got in anyway, and I was screaming into the phone at my wife, I got in. It's great, man. I get to go to Oklahoma City. I love Oklahoma City. It's a great place to go. Anyway, that was the thing. I used to obsess about the tournament because I wanted to go. I love being at the tournament. There is nothing better in the world. We are making plans. They're still a little dicey because of the price of tickets, but we still might do it to go to Tampa. And I know my friend Sticks has offered us a place to stay. I want pictures, and I want to know if we're going to get mints on the pillows, but we'll see what happens. But because I've looked at it, I want Florida to stay a 1 seed. Yes, I do. Is it a big difference with the 2? Not that big a difference, but it is a little bit. If you're the kind of teams you're going to have to play, if you end up playing a 2 seed, are going to be the teams that are challenging you for that 1 seed. So the point is, I am trying to make in a very poor way, is that Florida only needs to be focused on this tournament. And remember what happened last year. Last year we all said, hey, I hope they get beat and can rest up and everything. No, I think everybody realized that was not the way this team was built last year, and I don't think that it's the way this team is built this year. They're going to do everything they can to try to win this tournament. They got the number 1 seed. They've got the times right. 1 o'clock Friday. See how they do. If they don't and they drop to a 2, I'll be honest with you. I think that Houston and Illinois are the only 2 teams that are threatening them. I don't think UConn is even a threat anymore. That loss they had to Marquette gave them a quad 3 loss that Florida certainly doesn't have and can't get. I mean, the teams they have left, none of them would be a quad 3 or a quad 2 loss, I don't think. Kentucky, I don't know, neutral site may not be. Anyway, I think you see my point, and it should be a lot of fun to watch the tournament. Again, we still don't know. And I do think Florida's 1 win away from securing the 1 seed. Mainly because if you look at the net rankings, and Florida's got 11 wins, nobody below them is close to that, although somebody could go on a run and win 3 or 4 in a row and get to 11 or 10. if nobody gets to double figures, there's no way that Florida's going to fall out of that 1 seed. And I think 1 win will do it, and that we'll see. Because 1 win would make it 12 quad 1 wins. Anyway, I'm talking myself. Just watch the games. Watch the games, Robbie. That is an old line that Spurrier said to Robbie one time because Robbie kept asking him questions. He was trying to fill up some special thing that he had to do for the paper. And so it was like he had to ask all these questions and, how many times have you lost all? So it was just, I don't even know, it was silly stuff. And finally, Robbie goes, Robbie, just watch the game. So we say that once in a while. All right. Let us get to number 3 on our moneymetals.com
Purchases one of the
starting
largest
5.
distributors in
Brought to
all
you by our
the
good
United
friends at the Money
States.
Metal
2
Exchange.
Gator grads
We
are
appreciate
running
them
it,
for
and you
being
can
a
reach
sponsor
them
of
at
the starting 5. And number 3
1865
is there
or
was
at
a lot that happened last
moneymetals.com.
night. None of it was really good for some bubble teams, but Auburn winning, I had to win that game. Let's face it. And I think they're going to sneak in, but boy, they are just barely in right now. And if they go out and poop the bed against Tennessee, which can happen, that is later today, they may still get out. I think they're in for now. I think Indiana's out now. That was a bad loss for them. Who's interesting to me is Florida State, believe it or not. And it has been a weird dynamic for me because once Florida beats you, I root for you the rest of the year. Unlike in football, I do root for you in basketball because the net matters and the Ken Palm and all that stuff matters. So I start rooting for you. So I have been rooting pretty much all year for Miami and FSU to win every game they played. And for the most part, I've been pleasantly surprised with how well FSU's played down the stretch. I think they've won 10 of their last 12, something like that. I don't think they could get in, but they're not light years away from getting into the tournament right now. I don't think they have to win their conference to win the tournament. I think if they got to the finals, they could. But anyway, I probably am going to back it up. I don't want FSU in the tournament. I just wanted them to win some games so it would help Florida's net ranking. But at the end of the day, at this point, it doesn't matter anymore. So you had that going on last night. It's been an interesting start to this season, the postseason of the season. And I watched a lot of it last night. It did, you know what it did? I said to myself, Pat, this looks like what the first day of a 16 tournament should look like. And by that, I mean, it was bad basketball. There's a reason why these teams finished at the bottom. I didn't watch a lot of the Kentucky game. I was doing some stuff. I was actually playing golf, believe it or not. So I didn't watch a lot of that game. I watched some of it. But the other games, I watched a pretty good part of it. They were just bad. It's not good watching them play. There just weren't the plays that we see out of the good teams. And when I say the good teams, I'm talking about the Floridas and the Alabamas and the Arkansas. There is a real difference this year, I think. Last year, when they got 14 teams in, it was because there were 14 teams that deserved to be in. This year, I'm not sure there's 11. I think that 10 would be fine, and I'll take that, but it's certainly interesting. And we'll see what happens again today. It is a fluid situation, to say the least, and who gets in and who doesn't get in. All right, so let's get to number 4 on our moneymetals.com starting 5, and that is baseball and softball. Obviously, we talked about Florida's win over FSU in baseball. I want to talk about Florida's win Monday night in the softball. So it's been a winning week so far here in Gainesville. Not only that, lacrosse won too this week. But softball to win that game Monday night, and that gave them the sweep over Missouri. What better way to start the SEC season than to sweep a team, and no matter who you're playing. And then baseball, of course, got that win. Softball is now 26-1. Now I know that they have played some pretty soft opponents, and I'm not being critical of Tim Walton. I mean, They know what they've got coming up. They're still got FSU on the schedule. They still got SEC games on the schedule. They played some tough teams like UCLA. But 26-1 is 26-1. That's what your record is. You are what your record is, right? The one game you lost 15-12. So we hope that this is really an elite team, and I think it might be. What little I know about softball, and I know more than most because I've been to the College World Series multiple times, is that they have a really good team, and Shoemaker and Erickson at the top of that lineup is pretty darn tough to beat. But we'll see how it all goes for them. We'll give you the times of the games and where you can watch them. And then, of course, baseball hosting South Carolina as they open up SEC play. That'll be exciting. Well, I'm interested in watching those games as well. I'm going to probably be kind of a hermit this weekend. I don't know. I was thinking about going out there, but I may still. We'll see. But anyway, that's our baseball and softball. And of course, both of them off to great starts, and we'll see how they do. Now, look, I know that they lost those 2 out of 3 to High Point, and that was depressing. They were lucky to win the 3rd game, and you're like, well, maybe this team isn't very good. And then they turn around and beat FSU, who was ranked. And so, look, it's a long season. It's a grind. We all know that. One day you'll sit back and go, what did Florida do against FSU this year? I can't remember. I know they beat Miami 2 in a row. So they're 3-0 against FSU and Miami. Pretty good. All right. Let us move along to number 5 on our MoneyMetals.com starting 5, and that is the Players Championship.
MoneyMetals.com is your home for
always a fun tournament to watch, always a fun tournament to go to. I know a lot of people are going over there or are already over there. In fact, I just got a text from, that was who my text was from, was Ken Hesser is over there, and he asked me to pick out a spot for him. And I said, go to the par 3s, man. The par 3s are so much fun to watch, and you don't have to wait. Guy hits a shot, you wait for him to come up. Well, you have to wait a little bit. They putt out, next guy hits a shot. It's not like you have to wait for a lot of things. So I gave him 13 as a recommendation. So hopefully you went there. But a lot of people are going over there, and when you think about it, it is one of the biggest events we have in North Central Florida every year. I mean, I guess a Florida football game would be the first 6. And then some Jaguar games would be in there, but the Players is certainly a big deal. And I know there's been a lot of talk again about it. Is it the 5th major? Can we not make it? Just enjoy what you have, man. It is a great tournament. It's a lot of fun. People enjoy it. It's not the GJO, the Greater Jacksonville Open, when players used to find panties in the this is a true story. They would get to the first green and they'd look over in the trap and there'd be a pair of panties in there. There was a party there then. Swingers tent, they used to call it. And there was some swinging going on. But the point is, it's a great tournament. I think it's probably the 4th or 3rd best tournament as far as me want to watch it. I'd put it behind PGA. Oh, the PGA's gotten better. You know, they played at better courses, I think. But no, the bottom line is, it's just a fun tournament. If you're a golf fan, you're going to watch it. I'm picking Russell Henley as my winner. I liked what he was doing down at and look, everything anybody did on the West Coast swing, ignore, because you got different grass now, man. It's a totally different surface. I know that Scotty Scheffler is the overwhelming favorite. I've just not seen. We see him play in spurts. They're always at the end. Now he can't get off to a good start. I mean, make the cut. So we'll see how that all goes. But it ought to be a lot of fun. I wanted to pick Oberg, but I picked Oberg last year and he didn't. I don't think he made the cut, so I'm not picking him again. That is, I will say this: Markow is another good pick if you're looking for a money bet. That's the thing about golf, is you know how golf is. We all know how golf is. One day you go out and you hit a shot, and you go, feel it in my loins. Feels great. It's great. Next day you go out, you top one, pull one, you just play terrible. This is my week, I'm explaining to you. Anyway, it ought to be a lot of fun watching the players. So you got that, you got the SEC tournament, you got Gator softball, you got all these other sports going on at the same time. It is great to be alive and watching sports, and I love it. Speaking of which, we did want to bring up the Legends event that's coming up here. 3 Heismans, 2 events, 1 legendary day, the Legends Gala at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. First time ever in a public setting outside the Heisman Trophy ceremony in New York. 3 legends are coming to Gainesville, and you know who they are. It's the statues coming to life. So you can, it's March 30th, and you can get involved. There's 2 different tickets to buy. One is for the event over at the Alachua County Sports and Event Center, and that is where you catch a pass from one of those guys and they sign it. You do a video of it. It's a pretty cool deal. And then you have a party over at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill as well. That's a separate ticket, but you can look for those tickets at fllegends.com. Pretty simple. fllegends.com. That's floridalegends.com. All right. And we appreciate them being back in town on March 30th as well. All right, that's going to do it for our first segment. We will take a break. When we come back, we'll be joined first by Matt Walsh and then by Patric Young. So it's going to be a fun show today. Buckle up, peeps. It is another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging, coming to you from the Meldon Law Gator Studios.
For the first time ever in a public setting outside the Heisman Trophy ceremony in New York City, 3 legends are coming to Gainesville. Join Steve Spurrier, Daniel Werfel, and Tim Tebow together with their Heisman trophies for the Legends Gala at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill on Monday, March 30th. Enjoy an unforgettable night of Gator greatness while supporting the incredible mission of Isaiah 117 House. Tickets are limited. Get yours now at fllegends.com. That's fllegends.com. Don't miss your chance to be a part of Gator history.
Money Metals Exchange is a new sponsor for our starting 5 here on another duly noted podcast, and we are so happy to have a group that is formed by 2 Florida grads, Mike and Stephen Gleason. They do a great job up there. If you're looking to buy or sell any gold or silver products, this is the place for you. And you can reach them at moneymetals.com. Also, phone number 1-800-800-1865. They are the place to go. They run the largest Class 3 precious metals depository west of New York. They've been voted the best online precious metals dealer in the United States by Investopedia. It's a bull market right now. Everybody needs to get in on the gold and silver markets, especially silver. So it's a great time to jump in. I looked at it yesterday. I was on the website for a while. And it was amazing how many different things they have. Coins and rounds and bars and just all kinds of special things. And I think you would have a great time just going in there and browsing. And look, the prices are right there. You know how much it is. Money Metals Exchange is the place to go. Again, Mike and Stephen Gleason do a great job. You can reach them at moneymetals.com or reach them at 1-800-800-1865.
Okay, welcome back to another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging, coming to you from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. And it is a great pleasure to bring on one of my favorite players that's ever played at Florida, and that is Matt Walsh. You know him from the first ever SEC tournament champions. That was a pretty good day, wasn't it?
That was a good week. The week before, we finally beat Kentucky after losing. I think I lost my first career. 6. I think it was 6 for me. I think we had lost 8 in a row, but I lost 6. The week before we won at home after being down 3 with like a minute left. And then winning that SEC championship. Yeah, I'll never forget, especially after losing the year before in the championship to Kentucky.
Well, I remember the game here when you got the last rebound, you threw the ball up in the air, up into the stands, and everybody there was a baseball game going on at the same time, and they heard this massive roar, so they assumed Florida had won. And it was you throwing the ball in the stands because everybody just lost their minds. I remember it was Azubuike took the 3 and left it short. And those games were so intense, weren't they, back in those days?
Oh my God, I think that final score of that game was 53-52.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was a rock fight compared to games nowadays. But yeah, those games were wars. And yeah, I was guarding Sparks, I think his name was Patric Sparks.
Patric
And
Sparks.
as a Buki missed short, hit front rim, backboard, and I got it. And yeah, I think I blacked out when I threw the ball in the crowd there. So
Well, it certainly was a fun, but then to go and win the tournament, because that's something Florida had never been able to do. I've told this story before that when I went to try to get a quote from Jeremy Foley about it, he turned around and he's just was sobbing, and I said, "No, that's good. I don't need a quote now. That's all I wanted to see. I'll write that down." And for you guys, I mean, I know that you were having to deal with that Kentucky crowd. Walsh is gay, heard that a few times.
I think,
It was
yeah.
crazy.
I think that was the nicest thing that I heard from them, actually. But yeah, to see them all leaving the dome early, Big Blue travels. And I think somebody at some point sent me like a newspaper from Lexington that had a picture of me and it said cat killer. And I really love to have that now. But no, that was so much fun, and celebrating and cutting the nets down, and looking back at photos from that day and hugging Coach Donovan. And yeah, it's funny you mentioned Foley, because I went up to Billy's Hall of Fame ceremony in September with my son and my dad, and saw Jeremy. And it's just, being a Gator is such an amazing thing. Getting those 3 years. You go and you see, and it's like nothing has changed. These relationships that we were able to build, and being back in Gainesville a few weeks ago is just amazing. So that was one of the best weeks of my life. Until I had kids, I'd say that was one of the best weeks I've ever had, for sure.
It was a lot of fun. I know that. And it just, now you felt like you could do it. And of course they did it the next 2 years as well. But it was like a stigma. They couldn't get over that hump. How did you get down there? By the way, we have one of our advertisers, Ken Hesser, is from the same area that you're from, up in Pennsylvania, and he wanted to give you a shout out for that.
All right.
But how did you get down here? What was the whole impetus to come down to Gainesville?
Yeah, so I was fortunate as a high school player. I basically, my junior year, I could have went anywhere. I could have committed anywhere. And I was recruited heavily by Maryland, Gary Williams at the time, and that was a big time program. Arizona, Stanford, these are some of the schools that I was looking at, but I always wanted to be a Gator. So the strength and conditioning coach at Providence, when Billy was there, was a guy by the name of Greg McCready's, who went on to be the strength and conditioning coach at the Knicks and the Jets for a while. And he happened to move to my area, Bucks County, when I was in 7th grade. And I started training with him, and I would train with these pro football players who were getting ready for the draft. And he would always tell me, he's like, you remind me of Billy and Billy the Kid. He told me, and I followed college basketball so closely. And at that time, it was a cool thing to play for the Gators. You had Brett Nelson, you had Teddy Dupay, you had Mike Miller. And if you were, a white guard who wanted to it was like, oh, you go play for the Gators. And I'll never forget, I came on the visit and with my family, and they did the whole walk into the O'Connell Center and the lights go out, welcome to the House of Horrors, and your lockers all made up. And right before I had left is when Jay Wright got the job at Villanova. And he went right from the press conference to my high school. And it was the day I was leaving for my visit. And he was like, whatever you do, don't commit. Give me a chance to recruit you. I want you to be like, a cornerstone of what we're building here. And I went to Florida and committed on the trip. I just Coach Grant and Coach Jones, who recruited me, I just love those guys. I watched practice, and I saw how Udonis Haslam carried himself. And, at that time, I was probably a top 40 player in the country. And, some people were saying, some local people, kind of some haters were like, oh, you're going to get over recruited there. You won't be able to play there. And I always just kind of had this mindset of like, no, I'll be the guy who won't, who they can't over recruit. I'll be the guy who guards won't want to come here because they know that that's my position. And it ended up working out. But being a Gator is such a big part of my life, and it's just something I'm so proud of, especially getting the opportunity to play for Coach Donovan, and now how it's been carried on by Coach Golden. And it's just an amazing thing to be able to say I'm a Gator.
And that must have been fun to come back for that game and have them put a whooping on Kentucky.
It was awesome.
It never gets old, does it?
No, and just to see how much, you forget, you leave for a little while and you forget how beautiful the campus is. Driving around and being able to share it with my son, who absolutely loves basketball. He wants to go on a similar path to me. And Jordan, the director of basketball operations, put Michael through a workout in our practice facility, and be able to share those memories and have my dad come down. But yeah, there's nothing better than beating Kentucky at home and getting a chance to see Matt Bonner and Lee Humphrey, and then the guys from last year's championship team. So it's just I was trying to explain to my son that when you get an opportunity to be part of like the Gator family, it's forever. And you're part of something that very few people get to be a part of. And it's something that, again, I'm just so proud of.
Matt Bonner, who was probably the smartest basketball player I ever dealt with, but and he would be so bored with our questions that he would just kind of like drop his head and go, "Come on, man, that's the best question you have for us." And he would start asking us questions, and until he showed up on crutches one day, I had no idea what plantar fasciitis was. And all of a sudden, everybody's looking it up and how to spell it, and there are two I's there, and you had to get it just right. But
well, the good thing is he could probably explain it better than than anyone else. Yeah, Matt. I think the lore around Matt was that he got an 89 in one class ever, like a B+, and he was so mad at the professor.
Yeah.
So yeah, Matt's a great guy, and
played a lot of years.
Him and his family. Yeah, he got an awesome NBA career. And you think about a guy like Matt now, like if he played now, the way he could shoot and his size, he would be incredible now, because he'd be probably shooting 10 or 12 threes a game. Back then he took probably 3 or 4 for his whole career.
Like Al Horford does now. I mean, he's
like stretch 5.
Stretch 5. And that had to be fun playing with those guys, because obviously that team that ended up winning the championship, but you were on that team with all those guys at the time. Some of them played a lot, some of them didn't play a whole lot, including our man Joakim Noah, who just wasn't ready for the game yet.
Yeah, Joe is a late developer. Even from his size, I think as a freshman in high school, he was 6 foot or something like that, and ended up growing. But Joe is one of my closest friends now to this day, and he was my roommate his freshman year. Those guys are just incredible, and what they were able to do and how they were able to grow. And I think the biggest testament to them is that they just played for each other, and all really good people. And I think what Torian's doing there, I think he deserves a lot of credit, because Torian does a lot of the player development, and to see how the guards on this team have grown, he's done a really good job. And I haven't heard his name mentioned too much, but I think Torian, and watching what they were doing, I was able to watch some practices and shoot around. He's doing a great job. But that team was special, and getting a chance to have played with Matt Bonner, Justin Hamilton, who I ended up playing with a few years pro, which was amazing, one of my closest friends, and getting to see those guys, and then also play with the next generation of guys who obviously had so much success was pretty cool.
If you had to do over again, would you have not turned pro?
It's so funny. I was speaking to someone about this just yesterday. I spoke to a class at Rider University yesterday about my career, and I wouldn't change anything, because I'm a firm believer that all those decisions led to me to where I am now. And I've got this incredible family, and I'm getting to watch, live basketball through my son in a positive way. I just help him however I can. But look, it was painful. I spoke about it yesterday with this class. I had a year where my college team won a national championship, and my NBA team that I got cut from won an NBA championship. So there's no question, it took me years to get over it. And I think about what could have been, but it was meant to be. It was their guys' path to go down to win those championships. And who knows what happens if I stay. So, and who knows if I ever get the chance to play in the NBA. It was a short time, but I got to play with Shaq and D Wade and Jay Will. So, I just believe that you are where you're supposed to be. Certainly at the time on draft night, when I, walked around my neighborhood after not hearing my name call, I was thinking, what have I done? But it all works out. And I think if you would have asked me that a month after the decision, yes, I'm going back to Florida. But if you ask me now, it's, I'm very happy with the way things have turned out.
Well, with the way things are going now, maybe you can come back and play.
I think my right knee would have something to say about that. But yeah, it's crazy. I actually said that yesterday too. Is that nowadays, if I didn't get drafted, I'd just go back to school. There'd be no issue. But I also think with all the NIL, I'm so grateful that I came through when I did, because the reality is, after the freshman year that I had, there's a high likelihood I would have ended up transferring. Because if you average 15 as a freshman, you're probably getting offered $2 or $2.5 million somewhere, $3 million. I may have been playing for the dreaded Kentucky or something. So
I would never have liked you.
yeah, probably not Kentucky. But I mean, you remember at that time, that was also when there was so many rumors of Billy going to Kentucky.
Oh yeah.
Every offseason, it was like, we were waiting to get that shoe to drop. So I'm just grateful that I think it's great the guys are getting paid now. I think probably some reform is going to have to happen in terms of how they do it. But I'm grateful I came when I did, because I don't know what my career would have looked like if I came through in the NIL area.
Matt Walsh is joining us on the Big Mills Cheesesteak Zoom line. And yes, it is time for us to play the game we love to play here. Yes, no way, or maybe. Brought to you by Big Mills Cheesesteak, street dining done the right way. Go in there and say, hey, I heard Matt Walsh on Pat Dooley's podcast. You get free French fries with your order. So next time you're in town, we got to go to Big Mills. Okay, Matty?
Yeah, cheesesteaks. Are you kidding? I mean, this is the best sponsor I've heard.
They're very good. All right, number one on yes, no way, or maybe. You have tried a Vegemite sandwich.
No way.
You don't. I mean, you're aware of how bad it tastes, apparently.
Yes. No way. I've seen it. I've smelled it. There's no way I'm ever tasting that. It's no way.
Well, that's a funny thing, because I didn't know how bad it was till I saw Kondo doing that thing with Jay Billis, and they were like, he was like, everybody's like, whoa.
I don't get it. I mean, if you even smell it, Pat, you would be, it's repulsive.
Well, for those of you who don't know, Matt lived in Australia and was part of a consortium that owned a team down there. And I think you sold in 25 or
last year. Yep. Just about a year ago.
Yeah. That's pretty cool, right? To have that going on.
It was fun. Yeah.
All right. Number two on yes, no way, or maybe with Matt Walsh. Matt, you still wear a headband when you work out.
No way. Unfortunately, I don't have those curls anymore, but I will say my kids get a kick out of it, and my daughters are not fans of how the curls used to look. So, but my son wears a headband when he plays, which is pretty cool. So
that is cool. Yeah. And finally, on yes, no way, or maybe, any of your children have ever asked you what it was like to date a playmate?
No, not yet. I think my son at one point in the last year said something about like, yeah, one of my friends was Googling you and said like he found some funny stuff. And I was like, bud, why don't you stick to not Googling me until you're a few years older?
Hey, it was fun for us. She showed up for all the games, so we got to go. Some people would pretend to be interviewing just so they could be around you.
Yeah, I think I would have been. I don't know if popular is the right word, but I would have been, with this new social media era, I would have been talked about maybe more than I would have liked nowadays. So
it is a crazy era. But before I let you go, I wanted to ask you what you thought about this year's team. Obviously, to take a brand new team, basically without your three guards that are NBA and the NBA and win the SEC says a lot about Todd Golden.
He's incredible. The whole staff is amazing. Getting to watch practice day before the Kentucky game, the buy-in they have from everybody, the energy, and how he's basically, they lost the guards, but they picked up some really good guards, right? But the way the season started with no one making shots, they totally turned how they play basketball. They still play fast, but they run everything through their bigs. And, I've heard how great it is these guards are making shots, but what that's done is it's opened up the bigs so much. And, Condon had a slow start to the season, but with the guards making shots, it changes how teams have to defend. And with how scary our front line is, if our guards are making shots even just a little bit, and if they're playing the way they are now, I think we're the favorites to win it all again. But like I said, Todd's amazing. The whole staff is amazing. I think Torian deserves a lot of credit for getting these guys going, and really just the buy-in. I was just blown away. The energy and the effort and how much these guys care about each other. it felt like watching the Joe Kims and the Als and those guys of the world. So pretty cool. I'm very proud. I think they've got a great chance. And obviously the tournament's tough. You have one-off game and you're going home, but I think they have as good a chance as anybody.
You know how tough the tournament is. I mean, that even after you guys won the SEC, what'd you lose to Villanova in the second round?
Yeah, Villanova, who ended up losing to North Carolina, who won it all.
That was the day that Anthony Roberson took his jersey off and threw it in the trash. So,
oh, I didn't even know that. God, I was so distraught.
Well, hey, we're not distraught because we had you on, and we'll get you on again maybe sometime. Great stuff. And when you get back to Gainesville, let me know. We'll go to Big Mills, and then we'll go have a couple of cold beverages.
That is for sure. We're doing that. I'll be back probably sometime this summer, and I'm always happy to come on. Great to see you, Pat, and I appreciate everything. And go Gators!
All right, buddy. Well, thank you. We'll be back with more of another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging from the Meldon Law Gator Studios right after this break.
Adams Rib Company has been a staple of Gainesville for more than a decade and a staple of the Dooley house ever since Kelsey's teeth came in. The first time I walked into Adams, I told my daughter that the green beans are always a test of a great barbecue restaurant, and they were perfect. You know about the ribs that melt in your mouth, and my favorite, the turkey plate. But be sure to go in on Fridays for Nana's Fish Nuggets. They will melt in your mouth. Adams Rib Co., a Gainesville great. All right, it may be a new year, but it doesn't mean you have to back off any of your goals as far as losing weight. I know I've been working even harder on it, and of course I get an assist from BMI TeleMed. They help us out with our New Year's resolutions, even if I've already broken 2 of them. Not the food ones, though. Weight loss is your goal. Get with BMI TeleMed. They use GLP-1 medications, and they are individualized, and that's the great thing. I've been through this, and Charlie, just talking to him, it was so great to make him understand, and he understood what I was doing. It's not about just losing weight. It is about keeping it off. You know that. We're all excited about the new year, and we're going to lose weight, but when you lose it in the first month, then you got to keep going. BMI TeleMed is sensible. It's straightforward. It's affordable. No contracts or hidden costs. BMI TeleMed is donating $1 for every pound you lose to the Florida Victorious Foundation. So go Gators. I'll join the listeners on this podcast who've already lost over 600 pounds. Are you kidding me? I'm 60 of them right there. All right, contact BMI TeleMed today at 727-383-1677.
Okay, welcome back to another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging, coming to you from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. It is a great pleasure to bring in our next guest. We've had 2 of the great Gators on today. Earlier, we had Matt Walsh on, Patrick, and both of you have something in common. You beat Kentucky to win the SEC tournament.
Yep. That was a great one. That's a huge, yeah. And, no. I had great hair at one point. Matt Walsh had some great hair.
He did. We talked about that, whether he still wears a headband. He says, I don't have that much hair anymore. So. But
does he still live in Australia?
No, he moved to Austin now.
Okay.
He sold that consortium that had the pro team, and yeah, I did ask him about Vegemite. He does not like it. I want to talk to you though about going back to that 2014 season and that game against Kentucky, because I don't remember me feeling as intense about a game as I did that SEC final against Kentucky.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I don't remember like the half or not the halftime. I don't remember the pregame speech or anything like that. Obviously just putting myself back to beat a team 3 times in 1 year. That's always a tough thing, and this was the best Kentucky played us all season because the game was it was 61-60. It was a low score. And I'm not sure. I know we were up early on them, and they kind of just paved their way back into the game. And I
remember you guys missed a lot of free throws there at the end.
Free throws? Got you.
Fraser, I think, missed a couple on.
Got you. Okay. Yeah, I remember the last play. They tried to run a dribble handoff to James Young where Scotty, he lost the ball. Scotty jumped on it, and we won the championship. But yeah, it was there were nerves there because we had a narrative too. You know, we had never won the SEC tournament. Freshman year, knocked out first round by Kentucky, I think. Second year, Kentucky. Third year, Ole Miss. Senior year, we win it all.
Was the Ole Miss game? Was that the Marshall Henderson game?
Yeah, it was. Yep.
Oh, that was probably the most devastated I was walking
Yeah.
out of the arena.
Yeah, we definitely should have had that one as well.
He's doing the Gator chomp and everything. Yeah, look, he's a good player. I thought he was great for the league. You know, it got people excited. He was a villain, but that's okay.
Whether you loved him or you hated him, you watched him.
That's right. That's right. He watched every game he played, and he was a lot of fun. But yeah, oh God, yeah, I think you guys had the lead in that game too.
We did, yeah.
Yeah,
And I do remember we were down 3, and I don't remember who was shooting free throws, but obviously we had to miss. I was able to get a hand on the ball, and it got it to Kenny Boynton, and he got a shot at the buzzer, just didn't go in.
I remember that.
How crazy is that though? Like, and that's the thing about basketball. You know, you might not always be the one to get the ball, but it's still a 50-50 if you can go ahead and get a hand on there as well, because then that means no one else is going to get it, and it's still a live ball. And you know, the more dedicated you are to small things like that, the more you can set your team into opportunities where, you know, luck might happen, or, you know, getting those opportunities. But if you don't, I don't think you stand a chance. You're just hoping.
Yeah, what is that saying? Luck is when opportunity meets
Preparation.
Preparation, yeah. That's exactly right. I mean, you have to make your own luck. I always talk about like Zook luck he was the unluckiest guy in the world, you know, because he lost a game because a player swung at his player and the player swung back. So
yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah,
I do remember that one.
That was
Tennessee, right?
Yep, at Tennessee. Woof.
How the officials? But like, yeah, he got hit, one guy, and then he hit back. Like, why is not offsetting? You know, the official. You're not blind. You saw it.
You don't know that he's not blind. I mean,
that's true.
But that's the thing I always say. I've come to grips with this. You have to learn to play around officials, no matter what sport it is. Baseball,
yeah, for sure.
basketball.
Absolutely.
I mean, there are times in the game, the Kentucky game up there, and I'm like, what? No wonder Todd Golden got a T.
Speaking of though, Pat, there is one bad Patric. We did mess it up.
Adams?
Yes. Yes. There's one bad. I disown that Patric. I disown him. He can't belong to the group. He's not in the group chat.
I will say this. We're at the Mississippi State game, my wife and I, Karen, you know Karen very well. And she couldn't believe how much I talked during the game now. It used to be I was just dead silent during the whole game. Now I'm talking during the game and I go, Patch Adams, get with it. Come on, man. And just at that moment, my friend Stick sent me a text saying, Pat Adams is the worst official in the SEC. And I'm like, well, it's unanimous.
Yeah, you know, I'll just say in circles that I'm around, when his games come on, there are when the game's on and he's doing it, there's some comments being made about how many reviews there's going to be, how much airtime Patch is going to get.
Yeah. I remember John Clockery he might have been even before your time when he was a ref. And he would, early in a game, because you didn't have reviews then, he would come running out of a big scrum and point the other way, it's that way. And that was we used to call him the show because of that, because he would always just come out and go, I'm in charge here.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah, it's fun. Hey, let's talk about, I mean, obviously with Florida playing the SEC tournament tomorrow, your time in that tournament, were you all in Nashville or did you have one in Atlanta?
Senior year was Atlanta. I think we had one in Memphis. Was it Memphis?
No, I don't think you remember.
New Orleans.
New Orleans. There was New Orleans.
New Orleans. There we go. And then Yes, Nashville. I remember that. Yeah, yes, I remember Nashville
I
well.
think New Orleans was when Anthony Davis that he was on that team for Kentucky then.
Man, don't remind me.
Well, what is it? The whole thing when it switches over? I mean, do you have to switch a mental clock to now we're going to a tournament? You know, we're this is not like we've been playing all year.
I think like the finality of the regular season ending is kind of strange where you're just like, dang, all right, that's in the past. We've done that. Um, Now it's because you get a little bit of time between when that first game is, and I think I don't remember where we played on my. I never played on a Wednesday. I know that for sure. I can't remember if my
I think Florida's
sophomore year.
one of the two teams that has never played on a Wednesday. I think it's Florida and maybe Alabama.
Yeah, I think all 4 years I may have played. My sophomore year is the only one I can't remember if we got the double bye every time or played on Friday every time, and I think we may have. But you almost kind of just feel this anticipation, this great level of anticipation, especially since there's other teams playing before you, and there is a bit of pride where you're like, we're better than them, kind of. But then you're just watching and waiting for whoever that matchup's going to be, and it's and you try not to have human nature come in where you're like, okay, we beat the brakes off of this team earlier. Because, I mean, look at how LSU played Kentucky yesterday for the 3/4 of that game, or three-fourths of that game. It was back to back. Anybody can come ready to go. But Coach Donovan did a great job, and we just knew. Probably only my freshman year is probably when you're still kind of deer in headlights of that kind of stuff because, that long of a regular season. It just kind of felt a little bit odd, especially since you're not one of the main guys at that point as a freshman. But every year after that, and especially since we hadn't won it, going to my senior year, we were so business focused on that, Pat, that we wanted to get that, make sure that was going to be on our rings, and make sure that was going to be a banner for the SEC tournament.
Well, again, you guys also went into that tournament 18-0 in the conference, and I would have thought that would put a lot of pressure on you because you had the target on your back. There's no question.
Well, yeah, I mean that's a good point. That's why the opportunity of going 21-0 in all conference that last game. That's Kentucky plays us the best out of all the times we played them, and kind of anybody else that year.
Well, I do want to talk about this year's team, and I mean, they're after your heart, man, because it's a big man team.
Do we love this team more than last year's team? I don't know. I love this. Obviously a lot of the same players, but
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I definitely miss Will Richard.
Oh, I'm gonna love every team that won it all, and I'm gonna love. To be honest with you, I'm gonna love every team that went to a Final Four, but this year's team has been more fun to watch. Maybe it's partly because if they win it all, great. I will be so happy if they did it again. But just did it all last year. Well, if we get to the Sweet 16, I'm okay. I mean, I'm okay with it. But I'm sure you wouldn't be okay with it.
I wouldn't be okay with Sweet 16. I think at the floor that I can accept is an Elite Eight. That's the floor I can accept, but the ceiling for sure is a national championship.
Yeah, you went to a couple Elite Eights there, didn't
you? Three in a row.
Yeah. Oh God.
Before getting to the Final Four.
And I think in every one of those games, you had a 10-point lead with 10 minutes to go.
Not Michigan. That's
not Michigan. God, I remember my lead was grown man playing against boys.
Eric Murphy went 0 for 12 that game.
Jeez. And who's the guy?
I feel so bad saying that, but I didn't realize because you're looking at the box score at the end of the game, and then I say, "Oh, dang!"
Well, and that you talked about Memphis, that tournament in Memphis when you guys won the Elite Eight, and that Dayton crowd. Remember, they packed the place.
Yeah.
And that it was a pro Dayton crowd up in Memphis.
And it was interesting because Dayton wasn't. I mean, they were solid, but they weren't. They really shouldn't have had any real expectations they were going to beat us in that game. we led the whole way. You know, they made a run at some point, but like, I mean, we were in control that entire game, and I never was fearful that it was going to be like out of hand. Like they would. I remember. You know, you don't want to have that kind of confidence. You do and you don't, because you know hubris will get in your way, and you know maybe you start. You know, you never want to assume anything about your opponent, but I think, and I'm just going to speak for myself. I can't tell you what the other seniors on my team were feeling, but it was just like this confidence. Like I knew we were going to win that game, and we weren't going to sweat.
Yeah, well, that team had a great confidence about it, and I think this team does too. And I think you see it when they come out and they blitz teams. And
that's exactly right. That's what they do. They bring. It's almost like without the press, a far greater version of a luxury what Texas A&M wants to be.
Right.
Texas A&M is the generic brand, you know, and then Florida is the premium luxury brand that you have to buy, where you are going to get a team that's just blitzes you you're going to get what you pay for this team.
So yeah, Texas A&M is like you know, the generic Publix diapers, you know. Florida's the adult diapers.
You can tell. They get the job done, but you can tell there's a difference.
Yeah, I mean they're so much fun to watch.
The material's a little bit thinner.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, I wanted to talk to you about your time at the SEC network too, and how you're doing there. And I know that now you're kind of in your off time, aren't you?
Yeah, you know, I still have. So I know SEC tournament for me, which I'm not mad at. I thought about it, like it's for those guys that are there, it's like working 5 Saturdays in a row.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it goes Wednesday 4 games, Thursday 4 games, Friday 4 games, 2-1. And you know, and Ron Slay, I think he has to fly. He'll work that Saturday, and I think he flies up to Bristol for Selection Sunday. So I don't envy him. But I am working the first weekend of the tournament, and as long as an SEC team is continuing to advance, I'd work the second weekend of the SEC tournament, and then that's it. No matter what, whether Final Four team or not is in there, that's the season over for me. And it's already been nice. Like I went to see Ludacris at the Players yesterday on a Tuesday, and you know, in season something like that happens, I can't do it because I work the Tuesday, Wednesday. So it was nice just to be able to, like, dang, I'm doing something already that's out of the routine. You anticipate it so much, but then when you get into it and it's the late nights and it starts to weigh on you, and you have to just your energy gets pulled so much during those 3 months, you can't wait for it to be over.
Yeah, no, I get it, because you haven't. People don't understand. It's not like you just walk in there and go, okay, what are we going to talk about? You know, you got to be prepped and ready to go. I see you glancing at your computer there on set.
Yeah.
You want to know what the answer is. You don't want to just guess at it.
Yeah, you know, people will forgive if you every now and then, like, you don't have to be perfect, but you do want to, you know, if I say, you know, Vanderbilt had 14 turnovers and they actually have 15, you know, that's forgivable. But if you're like, you know, constantly way off, but we do before every game day, we meet around 4:30, and we break down. We have a discussion it'll be the host, myself, the other analyst, our producers, and we kind of talk like we had a really good discussion around the time that Betty Yako was allowed to come back to play, and there were just so many factors that we wanted to dive in on. I mean, as you can imagine, that was a big news day.
Yeah.
And still, I don't know if I'll ever forgive Alabama for that. I don't know if I can. I don't think I can. And especially, you know, go to the Supreme Court. Go to the Supreme, bruh. And I would have sympathy for him if you would have done this right after not getting drafted. Right after not getting drafted, because I can see that being a precedent being changed of like, hey, you tried to get drafted, you didn't, you can come back to school. that sounds kind of reasonable to me. That's just my thoughts and opinions on it there. But yeah, working with the SEC, man, we collaborate really well, and the producers in our ear constantly. Sometimes he'll ask us like, who's your player of the night? There's other, and we try to keep it fresh and keep it different. You want to have differing opinions, but sometimes we have the same opinions on things, and that's fine too.
Well, hey, I know you're doing a great job, and we love seeing you, and we love hearing you, and we love it when you come on the podcast. And I need to get some more books because I've been giving for our contest that we have here. So
I need to start working on the second one.
Oh yeah, okay. Well, you need to
you haven't written one. Well, you've written more than you've probably.
I've written 3, but they were good. You need to just tell some Billy Donovan stories in the next one.
I know, right? I need to. I'm mad. I didn't really take. I wasn't thinking in the future because there's plenty of things Coach Donovan did that were remarkable. But no, he doesn't have any like. There's no crazy, to my knowledge, in my time. I think Coach Donovan mellowed out a lot. You probably ask guys like Matt Walsh and guys when he started. I bet they got some really good stories of him when he was just like this voracious recruiter on the road. What's the story of him going after Mike Miller?
Oh yeah, they were in the hot tub with him. John Pelfrey was.
I think it's not only that, but I think they followed him around.
Oh yeah, they were everywhere.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
Like 2 weeks, they followed him around wherever he was. Like literally, this is stalking.
Yeah. Well, they could have been arrested, but they got the recruit. So that's what
got the recruit. Yeah. Mike's. Have you ever watched their podcast, the OGs? They use a lot of curse words.
I have, yeah, and I'd like to get a couple of those guys on too.
I know, right?
But my other white whale, I refer to him as, is I want to get Chandler Parsons on the podcast.
I know, right?
I can't find it. I have an old number for him. I got to get a new number for him, but we'll work on it.
I haven't talked to him in forever, so he seems like he's doing some NBA stuff and he's around.
He's on TV, yeah. He does a TV thing anyway. He's just another one that I've helped get move forward in their career. That's what I'm here for.
Who would you have thought? Who's more prepared? Like, I guess big question, Chandler Parsons or Thomas Houck, just college.
When Chandler came to Florida, I was like, oh, he's a package deal with Claytus. And I didn't think much of him. And then they played the last NIT game and he scored a bunch of points. I go, oh, this is the level he can play at. And then all of a sudden he got better, like out of nowhere. But Thomas Houck is still a different level.
The speed at which Thomas Houck plays is unbelievable. But sometimes I think his shot selection could be a little bit better. I think he sometimes takes himself out to bad angles when he takes some of his shots. Like when he drives, he barely has any angle for some of his shots. But shoot, he does it so aggressively, he gets fouled often. Yeah. That's the thing, because his shot selection might not always be the best. Just in quality of shot to give him the best chance. I'm not saying he can't make those shots, but like he goes at it so fast, he puts defenses on an imbalance and like, shoot, that hand's in the wrong place. Let me get them 2 from you.
Absolutely. All right, Patrick, we'll let you go, buddy. Hey, appreciate you coming on, and we'll see you down the road, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. We'll be back with more of another Duly Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging, coming to you from the Meldon Law Gator Studios right after this break.
Meldon Law has been serving personal injury victims since 1971. In those days, Jeffrey Meldon's presence as an attorney in the music scene dubbed him with the nickname the Hippie Attorney. And although times have changed, 2 things haven't: our commitment to bettering our community by helping the injured.
Albert, are you ready to go to the game?
And our love for the Florida Gators.
If you bleed orange and blue, Meldon Law is the firm for you.
Coach, it always impressed me how you beat Florida State to win the 1996 national championship. And I was really impressed with your 06, 08, and 09 Gator teams.
And the way you coached Danny to the Heisman Trophy.
A lot like what you did with Tim Tebow.
You know, you won more SEC championships than you lost home games at the Swamp.
And you had plenty of super games in front of our Gator Nation.
Yeah, there really is something special about the Swamp.
I guess that's why we say about the Swamp, only the Gators get out alive.
To the Swamp and the Gators, with the best beverage served at Spur's Gridiron Grill, 100% agave, Los Landeros tequila, aged in bourbon barrels for a smoother taste.
I think you mean Head Beer Coach 1966 lager, a crisp, light, bodied lager for easy drinking.
Nope. Los Landeros tequila, smooth enough to drink neat and bold enough to elevate a cocktail.
1966 lager, enjoyed on game days in the fall or whenever you need a winning cold brew.
Los Landeros tequila.
1966 lager.
Los Landeros.
1966 lager.
Y'all stop bickering.
Okay, you're both wrong anyway. The best thing Spurrier's Gridiron Grill offers are Jerry's famous chocolate chip cookies.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
Okay, welcome back to another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging, coming to you from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. We appreciate our great guests for being on. A lot of fun talking to those guys. Let's get right into it for our final segment, starting with our Los Landeros smooth move of the weekend, or the week, I'm sorry. It is brought to you by Los Landeros Tequila. Go beyond with my favorite tequila and Urban Meyer's favorite tequila as well. All right, our smooth move of the weekend was all those teams that were on the bubble going into yesterday said, we're going to slide right out of here. We don't want to be part of this. Not all of them. Auburn did win. And that game got a little dicey for a while, but Indiana and several other, Indiana was the big one. I mean, they had to win, they lost, so they're out. Very smooth. But I tell you, that's what this makes the tournament great, but it also is what makes it frustrating because you go, okay, we're in the conference tournament. We have a chance to win a game or two. If we can win two, we're going to be in March Madness. And then you go out and you lose, and you don't even play good. There were a bunch of those teams like that. They got knocked out. And some of them I feel bad for, but I'm not a fan of Liberty College, University, whatever they are, for a number of reasons. But they were the number one seed, dominated the conference, got beat by the 9 seed, they're done. And then they're not getting in at large. And this is what Miami, Ohio's big worry is that if they lost a game in the regular season and then lost a game in the tournament, they weren't going to get in. Now, the fact that they went 31-0, they should be okay, even if they lost a game in the tournament. But there are a lot of teams that lost games in tournament that are not okay. Let's just put it that way. All right, that is our Los Landeros smooth move of the week. And it is time for us to get to this, that, and the other.
What do you want? This, that, and the other.
All right, it is brought to you, as always, by our good friends at Notary Joe's. Notary Joe will come right to your house, and he will do your notary work for you. Reach him at 863-990-4884 or at notaryjoe80@gmail.com. It is brought to you by Dar Shakow Insurance for all your home, auto, commercial, and life needs. The only place to go is DSI, Dar Shakow Insurance. And it is brought to you by the Atlanta Hustle, the Southeast #1 women's Frisbee team, the Atlanta Hustle. You can go online and find their schedule now and see if you want to head up to any of their games. I'm thinking about going up there for some baseball, so I need to stop by there and see the Atlanta Hustle. All right, so this, that, and the other. Let's start off with this being, we have been hearing this story for years, going back to the early years of Billy Napier at Florida, about tampering. And it's an ugly part of it, what has become an ugly system, and that is, I mean, it's positive for the players, but it's not positive for the fans in any way. Fans don't like the system runner. Let's face that. But the ugly part of it was that players were coming off their practice field and getting a cell call, and it was their agent saying, "Hey, we got you more money if you want to go ahead and get out of there." I mean, this happens all the time. The agents are the power right now. So that was this. That was that, it, I'm trying to put this the right way. We saw different places where coaches will, this is how bad tampering's gotten. It's gotten Connor Stalions level, where the coach for a team that has the Queens College coach that has punched his ticket was complaining because an Auburn assistant coach bought a front row seat and was interacting with his players during warm-up. One of them specifically they want to get. Now that's not good. Okay. That is, where are we going here? And I think that's where everybody is. The other is, and you're sitting there and you're like, I want answers here. I'm demanding that this tampering stop. And then the Big Ten comes out yesterday and says, sends a memo out and says, hey, NCAA, quit penalizing teams that tamper. Let us figure this thing out on our own, basically, is what they said. We got to get some more rules. And then Greg Sankey, there's talk about the SEC just splitting off into its own league. What is going on here? What are we doing? We have no rules, just suggestions. That is this, that, and the other. I'm not in a good mood about this, that, and the other. But we'll move on to something I will be in a good mood about, and that is our Gallo Car Wash Sponge of the Week, brought to you by our good friends at Gallo Car Wash, the only place we get our car washed, all three of them. And I'm going today to get mine done because mine it's like a pollen magnet. It's got it all over it. Our Sponge of the Week, Florida lacrosse. You know why Florida lacrosse? Because yesterday they're playing a match and they're down at halftime, man. And I'm like, wow, 7-6 are down to Penn. Penn's very good at lacrosse. And all they did was come back and score 7 goals the next period and end up winning 18-9. So good win for them. They just soaked up all the goals. They said, we're going to take them all now. You had yours. You thought you were going to had a chance. We're going to go and outscore you. So what was it? 12-2 in the second half. Well done, ladies. And I know that, what's her name? God, I'm blanking on her name. Had 5 goals in the game. Whatever. I can see her. I can see a picture of her. But I can't think of her name. Anyway, she scored 5 goals. All right. Let us move along to our BMI TeleMed Smart Move of the Week. Brought to you by our good friends at BMI TeleMed. It worked for me. It'll work for you. They're your weight loss specialists. And if you give them a call at 727-383-1677, they'll make it work for you. Just say you listen to this podcast and you'll get a discount on your order. The smart move of the week is I think it's the ADs around the country knowing you don't need to get rid of a coach early in football and basketball. You do in football. The fan base is going to get rowdy. They're going to get upset. You need to go ahead and do it. Get it out of the way. In basketball, you don't need to do that as a rule because you could go on a run late and get into the tournament and everything. But, man, they are coming one after another now. So I do agree with both of these. And that was the 2 biggest ones that just broke in the last couple of days. Adrian Autry at Syracuse. It just, you don't want to be the guy following the guy, right? You want to be the guy following the guy who followed the guy. And that was a good example following Jim Boeheim. And it's not like he left them a great team. They weren't that good anyway. And then Bobby Hurley also let go by Arizona State. They just weren't going anywhere. You know, it was a stagnant program, I think. So those were our BMI TeleMed Smart Moves of the Week. let us move along to our Adams Ribco Gator of the Week, brought to you by our friend Adam Brewer over at Adams Rib. He and Michelle do a great job of cooking up all your barbecue needs. And Friday is Nana's Nuggets. Make sure you get those catfish nuggets. It is our Gators of the Week are the swimmers. We don't give enough attention to men's swimming or women's swimming, but in this case, men's swimming, 11 different athletes qualified for 18 events and puts Florida in position to make some noise at the NCAA swimming event. So now I'm kind of fired up about that. But they are Adams Ribco Gators of the Week, the 11 Florida men's swimmers who qualified for the NCAAs. Congratulations to them. Let's move along to our Leonardo's at Millhopper Quick Pick. And I've got, Christina, I've got yours. I'm going to mail it out today. I promise you. I swear. I just got to do it. All right. Our Leonardo's and Millhopper Quick Pick, I'm giving you two. One of them, you guys are going to cheat on, but I can't help that. But if you don't have your pick in by this afternoon, or maybe even tomorrow morning, okay? Maybe I shouldn't have made it a pick, but I did. Ricky Castillo, I think, is the only Gator playing at the Players after he won last week. Does he make the cut? Yes or no? It's kind of a freebie because if he doesn't make the cut, you can look and say, well, he's 4 over. He's not going to make the cut. So, but anyway, and the other one is, does Florida play in the SEC final? Play in the game, not win. Play in the game. So they got to win 2. Those are pretty easy questions. Just two yeses, 2 nos, whatever you want to put. And send it to Patric Dooley 54 at gmail.com. We do have another opening, by the way, for a advertiser that just opened up if you want to get involved in that. And Patric Dooley 54 at gmail.com is the place to go. Let us move along to our Hesser and Kipke. Our Hesser and Kipke 3 things. Hesser and Kipke, with over 50 years of combined legal experience in North and Central Florida, Hesser and Kipke is your place for bankruptcy, workers' compensation, and family law. Call or text Ken and Jennifer at 352-339-9920, Hesser and Kipke. Okay, Hesser and Kipke, 3 things. Number 1, Max Crosby fails his physical with the Ravens. And now he says, I'm a Raider. Well, that's because you couldn't go anywhere else. It's a weird dynamic, that whole thing. I mean, if the guy had surgery, you had to know he wasn't going to be 100%. So why did you trade for him? And then they end up getting Trey Hendrickson. I think Crosby's a better player when he's healthy, but I mean, it's a weird thing. And there's a lot of people saying everybody's going to look at things differently now because I'm like, you get way too complicated for me. I like watching Max Crosby play, but I mean, I don't know. Trey Hendrickson, pretty good too, or Troy Hendrickson, whatever his name is. You know what I'm talking about. All right, let's move along to number 2 on our Hesser and Kipke 3 things, and that is USA. We made it into another round of the World Baseball because somebody else beat somebody else, not because we did anything. But yes, the USA, which looked like they may be gone. Mark DeRosa, their manager, thought they were in. Then he found out they weren't in, and he got ripped to shreds for not knowing that. Everybody's saying you should have a baseball dad with you at all times. Anyway, Italy won. The fighting Jack Caglione is what I call them, and they beat Mexico. So the U.S. is in the World Baseball Classic. If you're paying attention to it. Fine, I get it. I get how you want to pay attention to it. And finally, number 3 on our Hesser and Kipke 3 things. I know this happened Monday, but it happened after our show. But I wanted to mention it. Kelly Ray Finley let go at Florida. I'm not stunned at all by that. She has done a great job of bringing talent in here. And they've got a good young team, but they just don't win games. They don't win enough games. And at the end of the day, you are what your record is. And I mean, I don't know if she's a good coach or a great coach or a bad coach. I don't know. You know, I watch their play all the time, and I just know they're a team that can't finish. So I'm not surprised that she got fired. We'll see where they go. 30-50 SEC record, too. I think that was a huge part of it. All right, let's move along to our, as we do always do, finish up with our Swamp Games of the weekend. Brought to you by the Swamp Restaurant, where everybody's going to be going to watch all kinds of stuff this weekend. I'm not going to give you the basketball schedule. You know it's on from 12:30 today till forever. Day games and everything. They're all on the either SEC Network or SEC or ESPN. Baseball, all 3 games are on the Plus. 6:30 Friday, 6:30 Saturday, 1 o'clock Sunday. They're all on ESPN Plus against South Carolina. Gymnastics, Friday night at Kentucky. Wrap up the regular season, 5 o'clock on the Plus. The Plus is dominating. Softball, 6:30 on the Plus Friday. But 12 o'clock, it's on the SEC regular network. And then 1 o'clock on Sunday, it's back on the Plus. And, of course, we've got all kinds of stuff, including the selection show Sunday night. We're going to find out where the Gators are going. I can't wait. It's going to be a fun weekend. A lot of stuff going on. We'll have plenty to talk about on Monday. Want to thank Zach for doing a great job. I want to thank our great guests today. And I want to thank you for listening and watching another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging, coming to you from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. I'll be back Monday. Until then, I am Pat Dooley. I am deep, I am way back, and I am out of here.